ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति सुपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं गुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं वर्जनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितां हे कृष्णकरुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी शुभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये मंच कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते राधानाथ स्वामी नामने नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नामने गौरवाणी प्रचारणे विशेषवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारणे मुखम करोति वाचालं भंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानंद माधवम श्री चैतन्य ईश्वरम। हरि ओम। हरे कृष्ण। So welcome to our series of the Bhagavad Cosmology. We are entering chapter 21 today. This chapter is entitled The Movements of the Sun. It's not a very long chapter, fewer than 20 verses. This chapter, I think 19 to be precise. But as the name suggests, the chapter is focused on the sun's orbit. Now, a quick recap of what we have discussed so far, so that we don't lose the bigger picture. So far, we have been discussing, of course, we started our entire discussion about how from the Lord's body multiple universes come. Each universe is Brahma under an egg, which has many coverings. Inside the covering, there is half is filled with Garbhoda cushion, and on top of that, there is a disk. Maybe I should start by sharing. We are connected. Okay. Can you see this?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, good. So we said that this is a simplified diagram. This is a universal shell. It is not showing everything, but this is the shell of the universe. Half the universe is filled with the Garbhodak ocean. Just above the Garbhodak ocean is a circular disk which represents the Bhumandal. The whole planetary systems, all the 14 planetary systems, the universe are said to be represented or compared to a lotus flower which comes from the navel of Garbhodaksha Vishnu. So Garbhodaksha Vishnu is residing inside the Garbhodak ocean. From his navel, this stem comes. So this is the stem, this is the lotus, and this is the leaf of the lotus. That is the comparison. Just like in a water, when a lotus grows, just above the water, there is a leaf, just above. And then the stem continues to go up. Of course, the stem goes downward also, continues to go up, and then the lotus flower is a little distance up above the water. So this is the comparison which is given in the Bhagavad and the other scripture. That is why the universe is compared to a lotus flower. It is not literally a lotus, but this is the analogy that is drawn to a lotus flower. The topmost part of the lotus represents Brahmaloka, where Brahmaji is residing. Then the various planetary systems are considered to be part of the stem. The leaf, which is just above the Garbhodak ocean, essentially represents the Bhu Mandala. And we have spent a considerable time in the last many classes discussing the horizontal structure of the universe. This direction is the horizontal structure. Essentially, we have been discussing about this leaf. We haven't been discussing much about the stem here, about the lotus here, about the stem down. We haven't been discussing much. We just briefly discussed that this entire leaf is supported from down by who? Anybody recollects?
The Diggajas, Prabhuji.
By the Diggajas, yes, and also
The Kurma. Diggaj is on back of Kurma Dev.
yes, and Shesha, correct. Yes, thank you. Yeah. So Shesha supports, but also the Diggajas, the 8 Diggajas are supporting, and Shesha is lying on the back of Kurma. So we have seen that in other pictures, that aspect is not replicated. But our focus of the discussion has been around this area. Actually, more than this area, for the last few classes, except for the last class, most of the classes we've been discussing only this part. This ring. The ring is the central part, which seemed so big, but actually so small as compared to the overall dimensions. And this is the part which is known as the Loka Varsha, the inhabited region, which comprises the 7 Dvipas and the 7 oceans. Correct? At the center is, which Dvipa at the center?
Jambu Dvipa.
Jambu Dvipa. Yes. And what is the last one? Anybody else? It is very well versed with everything, studying very thoroughly. Anybody else can answer? What is the last Dvipa? No, the Dvipa, which is the island, the 7 Dvipas. It ends with the word Dvipa. In this region, before the Swarna Bhumi. Swarna Bhumi is the golden land, right? And beyond the Swarna Bhumi, we said this is the Loka mountain. And beyond the Loka mountain is the Aloka Varsha. Right? The Aloka Varsha, we said, is broadly divided into 2 parts. There is a Andatama, which is just outside the region of the mountain. And then the rest is Ghana Udaka. Ghana Udaka means solidified ice. So there's this layer of ice just above the Garbhodak ocean. Possibly it is the water of the Garbhodak ocean frozen, even though it's not very explicitly mentioned, but possibly something like that. So the outermost Dvipa, I'm still waiting for an answer. Anyone?
Kuru Varsha, Prabhu.
No, Kuru Varsha is inside Jambu Dvip. Kuru Varsha is inside here, deep down.
Okay.
Outermost Dvipa. Outermost Dvipa is Pushkara Dvipa. So the Pushkara Dvipa, at the center of Pushkara Dvipa is a mountain which runs circularly. What is the name of that mountain? Okay, let me go here. Now I'm going to zoom into this area. Yes. This is how the Dvipas look like. Okay, you are with me so far?
Is it the Manasottara mountain, Prabhuji?
Yes, Manasottara mountain. Correct. So this is Mount Sumeru. This is Jambudvip. This is the saltwater ocean. Okay, the earth is here, a small dot here. Wherever my mouse cursor is, that point, That's the distance. That's approximate size of the Earth. And these are dvipas after dvipas after dvipas. The reason why I'm showing this is not just to indicate the dvipas. So this is 1, 2, and there is an ocean between. So there is one ocean, the second ocean, third ocean, fourth ocean, fifth ocean, sixth ocean, seventh ocean. So this is Pushkara Dweep, and this is the mountain which runs at the center of Pushkara Dweep, which is the Manasottara mountain. We have been discussing this for quite some time. We'll be discussing a bit more about Manasottara mountain. So even if you do not remember everything, it's okay. We'll be discussing a bit more. And then outside the Pushkara Dweepa is another ocean. What ocean is this? What kind of ocean? Anybody remembers? Made of what?
Sweetwater ocean.
Sweetwater ocean. Thank you. Good. Okay, so you can see blue, nice blue color Sweetwater. Huh? So this is dark blue saltwater ocean. I don't know whether that was the color code, but this looks blue, this looks blue. And then there is obviously, there is a milk ocean, there is a emulsified butter ocean, and so on and so forth. Sugarcane juice, liquor. I think this is the liquor one if I'm not wrong. Sugarcane juice, emulsified butter, milk, and so on. And the last is a sweetwater ocean. And so on and so forth. So, one of the reasons I showed you this particular diagram is to also emphasize, this is a revision, it's important to revise because otherwise we lose the bigger picture, that these dvipas, even though in this diagram seems like a pretty flat area, is not actually flat, it is terraced, it is an incline. Now here it is shown for simplicity as a smooth incline with Sumeru at the top. But the reality is this. It is terraced. You understand terrace? It's a flat land, then it goes down, and there is an ocean, and there is a land, and again goes down, another ocean, land, again goes down like that. So it is, goes down. It's like a step down. So it's not, even though it's simplistically shown like this, it is actually terraced. So the Bhumandal, even though from a top view appears, oh, it's showing all three together. Okay, good. Even though it appears like this, simple small disk, this small disk is like this. This Lokalok mountain is this mountain. Of course, it's much bigger than this. As you can see, it is very wide. And this central area, the rings zoomed in, is like this, the terrestrial. Okay, I hope you are all with me so far. So we have been discussing the various dvipas, their inhabitants. We discussed how Bharatvarsha is Karma Bhumi, everywhere else is, Homasvarga, more or less. Of course, the Aloka Varsha, we discussed, is an uninhabited region. We discussed about Andatama as well. Now, today's conversation is going to be now moving from the discussion of the horizontal universe, moving into the discussion of the orbits of the various celestial bodies, which is essentially the discussion of the vertical universe. Now, when we discuss about the vertical universe, because I want to spend a few minutes to give context about what aspects are going to be covered in the vertical universe. So as you can see from, and that is why I picked up this diagram, because this diagram almost summarizes the vertical universe. How does it summarize? There is the Bhu, which we already discussed. There is the Bhuvar, this region. Then there is the Swarga, which is this region, up to Dhruvalok. And then Mahar, Chanar, Tapa, Satya. Vertical, upwards. If you go vertical downwards from the Bhumandal, Atal, Vital, Sutal, Talatal, Mahatal, Rasatal, Patal. And these 28 dots, anybody can guess what are these 28 dots?
Hellish planets.
Hellish planets, yes, thank you. So hopefully we don't see them anymore. Generally, devotees do not need to visit these planets. Yamaraj has instructed his servants, those who are wearing Kantimala and chanting the holy names should not be approached by Yamadutas. So this is the vertical structure. So we are starting the discussion of the vertical structure by discussing about the sun and the orbit of the sun. We'll discuss in great detail today. In fact, the entire chapter is focused on the orbit of the sun. Now, why the sun is discussed first, I will come to that. That's a very detailed discussion. And the beginning of the chapter focuses on what is the significance of the sun in the universe. So I'll come to that. But please understand that the chapters that we are going to discuss subsequently is going to be about the sun, then the orbits of the various planets. After the sun, the moon, then the various planets and the nakshatras. Then we'll be discussing the higher planets. Higher means higher than Swargaloka. After having discussed all this, we are going to go downwards. Of course, there's going to be a brief discussion on Bhuvar Loka and what resides in Bhuvar Loka. That's also going to be discussed. And because Bhuvar Loka is an interesting Loka. Bhuvar Loka is not actually a planet. It is a space. So what we call as space, Antariksha. Correct? You have all heard the word Antariksha. When we say the spacecraft is flying out of Earth, it is going to Antariksha. So Antariksha is actually Bhuvarlok. There are certain residents who reside, they are actually floating around in space. What they are doing, we'll discuss another day. This topic for another day. But they are having a good time floating around, and there are different kinds of living entities. There are around 7-8 species who are inhabiting this at different heights in the Bhuvarlok. Sorry, somebody is not on mute. Okay. So we will be discussing that. We will be then discussing the subterranean heavenly planets, which are these. And we will conclude the 6th canto with a discussion of the hells. And of course, after the hell, there's a small discussion overall on the Vishwarupa form of the Lord. But this is the last geography topic. Okay. So this is going to be the conversation. So we discussed the horizontal universe. Now we are going to be discussing the vertical universe. I also want you to appreciate and remember in this figure, so that focus just on the sun here. I want you to keep in mind, this is the Bhumandal. This is Sumeru. You can practically see all the planets are aligned along the axis of Mount Sumeru and Dhruva. This is like the central axis for the universe. Yeah, you all agree? Yes, very clearly. Yes. So this is the leaf, which is the horizontal circular leaf. This is the stem of the lotus. So you can see that all the planets practically are located in the stem. So now you can understand what is the stem. Right from the hell, these planets, Sumeru, some of them, even though they are not literally in the center, but they are hovering around the central part. So almost you can imagine a stem here. The Satyaloka is the blooming lotus. So our discussion today's chapter, which is chapter 21, is going to be around this great personality, Surya Deva, who is going around Mount Sumeru in his own orbit. So let me pause the share for a few minutes. Later I will come back to the share again. So Surya Dev is actually a very, very interesting personality. Why Surya Dev is so important is because Surya Dev practically is the basis of the division of the universe. So first thing that the Bhagavatam chapter starts with is by saying that the sun is located at the center of the universe. Right in the center, which means there is 250 million yojanas up above the Surya and 250 million yojanas below. Slightly less than half the universe is filled with the Garbhodak ocean. Even though we say for simplicity half, it is slightly less than half because just above that is the Bhumandal disk, and slightly above the Bhumandal disk, as we showed the diagram just now, the sun is revolving. Okay, I'm not going to go to the diagram again. I hope you have imprinted that diagram by now because we have shown you 100 times. There are a couple of important diagrams which should have imprinted in your memory. So that plane of the rotation of the sun actually is the central point of the universe. So equal distance up to 50 million yojanas, equal distance down. So the disk is also slightly lower than the middle part, the disk meaning the Bhumandal. And the Garbhodak ocean is just under it. Correct? The leaf is just above the Garbhodak ocean, the leaf of Bhumandal. So like that it is situated. The Bhagavatam says, because we know that it is at the center, by understanding the distance from the bottom of the Garbhodak ocean up to Surya, we can estimate what is the distance upwards. That is what the Bhagavatam says. Just like if there is a bean seed, if you know the lower part of the bean seed and how it is shaped and what are the dimensions, you will know what are the dimensions and height and size of the upper half of the bean seed. We don't need to, correct? Just like in a, if you see half of something, we already know, if you know that it's a circle, we know the other half. The Surya's position is the center of the universe, and the Surya's position is also at the center of Antariksha. Now I want to go to another diagram. First, let me see which diagram to show you. Because I want to explain to you what is the meaning of Antariksha. I think I should go to the same diagram. Okay, let's go to the same diagram. Oh, I haven't shared yet now. Okay, now this diagram is not to scale, but again, so that you understand Antariksha. It is said that the distance between the Bhumandal and Swargaloka is said to be Antariksha, because there's the space in the middle. Correct? Okay. So this is Bhumandal. This is the space. And then there are the heavens. So from which point do the heavens start? The scriptures say that the heavens start from the moon upwards. How up? Moon, nakshatras, Venus, Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Saptarishis, up to Dhruva Loka is Swarga. Okay? You're with me so far? From moon, this is the moon's orbit, the dotted line. We'll discuss a little bit more in detail on the moon's orbit. That's a part of the next chapter's discussion. But this distance is Sargaloka. The distance between the bottom of the Swarga, which is the moon's orbit, and the Bhumandal is said to be Antariksha. Now, the Bhumandal itself is not a flat plane. That's why, for the purpose of simplicity, the bottom of the Bhumandal is Pushkara Dvipa. Correct? That's the last Dvipa. And inside Pushkara Dvipa is the Manasottara mountain. So it is said, from the bottom of Pushkara Dvipa, the sun's height, or the orbit of the sun, the height of the sun is said to be 0.1 million yojanas, or 1 lakh yojanas. And if you go another 1 lakh yojanas up, same distance up from the sun, you will come to the orbit of the moon, which means this distance is 1 million yojanas, and this distance is also 0.1 million yojanas, which means the sun is situated in the middle of the Antariksha. So this entire space, you can see the space here, blue space, this entire space is known as Antariksha. So briefly to mention, you can see already Siddhas, Vidyadharas, Charanas, Yakshas, Rakshasas, etc. are residing this region. There are also certain other species like Apsaras and Gandharvas who are also residing in the Antariksha. So that we'll discuss a little bit more another day. So the sun is located in Bhuvar Loka. Even though Surya Dev by himself is a heavenly planet, it is an exception that the sun planet itself is located in the middle of Bhuvar Loka. Now, sometimes when I say sun planet, people get, very upset. Prabhupada would say sun planet also, people get upset. Moon planet, people would get upset. So, you don't know basic geography and astronomy. Sun is not a planet, sun is a star. Moon is not a planet, moon is a satellite. So, I have already clarified this earlier, but I just want to clarify again. So, it is not out of ignorance we are saying that. Unfortunately, the word graha that is used in the Vedic parlance, there is no exact equivalent in the modern astronomy. And that is why we use the closest equivalent, which is planet. The definition of graha are these rotating objects. And that is why Surya, Chandra, all these planets, including Rahu and Ketu, which are here, just under the sun, and are also rotating, are all called grahas. So how many grahas are there? Have you been to a Hindu temple and have you noticed that there is a Navagraha area? Yes? 9 Navagraha. What are the 9 grahas? And the answer is on your screen. Surya, Chandra, Rahu, Ketu, Shukra, Budha, Mangal, Brihaspati, Shani. Right? Okay? 9? Yeah. So these are the Navagrahas. Because they are rotating around. The nakshatra is going to a separate category. We'll discuss that a little later. But these are the Navagrahas. So coming back, the point we were trying to discuss and why we came back to this diagram is to say that this is Antariksha up to this point. This plane, this is the cutoff. If I draw a straight line like this is Swarga up to Dhruvalok, and all the way down here, up to whatever place it goes down, up to Bhumandal is Antariksha. So when if you are in your buildings, condominiums, wherever, if you go to your balcony and look up, I'm actually now looking out, unfortunately, there's a building outside in the sky. But if you look up, you're actually looking into Antariksha. You're actually looking into Bhuvarlok. So technically, the Bhuvarlok actually starts not immediately from the terrace of your condominium or of your apartment. It actually starts once the atmosphere of the earth is surpassed. Beyond the atmosphere, the Antariksha regions, which is the space regions, start. So the sun is located in the middle, 1 lakh yojanas or 0.1 million yojanas here, and 0.1 million yojanas here. The sun is said to be making a circular orbit around the Mount Sumeru. Now, the sun's motion causes day and night. The sun's motion causes Uttara and Dakshinayan. The sun's motion causes the 6 seasons. And how all this happens is briefly described in this chapter. But before we go there, one more point at a more higher level, which I forgot to mention, which is that one of the reasons sun is so important is that it is based on the sun that the universe is divided into various ways. What does this mean? It means that the sun, we discussed previously, the sun has various names. Anybody remembers the names of sun that we discussed at the end of the last chapter?
Hiranyagarbha.
Hiranyagarbha, thank you.
Martanda.
Martanda, very good. And?
Surya Narayana.
And?
Surya Narayana.
Yeah. And more?
And
Vairaja.
Markandeya.
Not Markandeya. Martanda. Martanda. One more.
Viraja.
Vairaja. And Trig Ishvara. So these names we discussed. Yeah. So the reason, please go back on mute. Yeah. So, sorry, somebody's not on mute, is disturbing me. Okay, I put on mute. So, the sun's significance is based on the fact that the sun is the cause of life within the universe. That is why the sun is known as Martanda. Martanda means Mrita Anda. The universe, which is of Anda, is dead until the sun comes in. So when the sun comes in, the sun causes life. What does that mean? That the sun is the central source of heat and light. Otherwise, the sun is the universe is practically a cold, dark, frozen place. Like what? Like the Ghanodak. Frozen, dark, like Andatama everywhere. So it is Surya who is at the center of the universe, who spreads his light and heat and causes and makes it possible for living entities to exist. Now, based on the influence and the reach of the sun, the various regions are divided. This is also important for you to understand. Bhu, Bhuva and Swaha are the regions where the sun's rays spread. So that is one region, this whole block up to Dhruvalok. And we have discussed this point earlier, so I'll not go more into it. Obviously, the sun's rays cannot go below because there is a solid earth disk here. And the sun's rays are unable to go beyond Dhruvalok. It is too far. It doesn't reach the upper planets. So the upper planets is that region where the sun's rays don't reach. It doesn't mean they are dark. These planets are self-effulgent. They are luminescent. They are themselves effulgent they don't need the sun's rays. But this area needs the sun's rays. So Bhuvasvaha has the sun rays. Then the lower planets are all under the earth. We'll be discussing that in great detail. There also the sun's rays do not reach. So what is the source of light there? We'll discuss that when we come to the chapters. There's another source of light. Not torch, something else. So we'll discuss that later. So that is another reason why the sun is very important, because the sun is the basis of the divisions of the universe. Now, the Bhagavatam mentions that the sun is revolving around the zodiac. What are the zodiac? The zodiac are the various rashis, the sun signs. What are the rashis? It is said that the sun moves at different speeds to the various rashis. Why it moves to different speeds is because the sun is not only moving in a circular way, the sun is also moving up and down based on Uttarayan and Dakshinayan. So the sun's movement actually is not literally like this. The sun's movement goes round, goes up, then round, comes down. Okay. I don't know whether I'm able to help you imagine it. But later what I'll do is I'll share some videos where you can actually go into those and, get a detailed understanding of the planetary motions. It's beyond the scope of this conversation. But just suffice to mention that the sun also in its orbit is moving up and down. And as it is moving up and down, it is causing Uttarayan and Dakshinayan. Exactly how it is causing Uttarayan and Dakshinayan, there are detailed videos. I don't want to stretch your imagination too much, then you lose all appetite for dinner if you haven't had it. You'll have a headache while you sleep and you'll say, I don't want to attend another class on cosmology. So I don't want to go on that too much now. If you're interested, there is a lot more information and a lot more videos which you can go into. But suffice for you to understand that the motion is not just like this. This motion is around the zodiac, because the zodiac of the constellations, it is not shown here, forms what is known as the Kala Chakra. So that concept of the Kala Chakra we'll discuss in another class. It's not for today. But as the sun is moving around the Sumeru, it is also moving relative to the Kala Chakra, and the Kala Chakra is comprised of the constellations, and the Kala Chakra and the sun moves at slightly different speeds, which causes that even though the sun is moving like this, clockwise with respect to us, which means it rises in the east, sets in the west. Even though the sun is moving like this, with respect to the Kala Chakra and with respect to the constellations, the sun is moving in the opposite direction, because the Kala Chakra is slightly faster than the movement of the sun. So from a relative motion perspective, the sun is moving backward, which means the Rashis is going backwards into the Rashis. Now, if you didn't understand what I just mentioned, don't bother. If you understood, your imagination is very good. but I'll give you supporting material later, so you can try to understand, because some of these concepts are very hard to imagine without showing you videos. And I'm not just saying for you, for me also it was very difficult until I saw, because I have gone through those videos. I know what I'm talking about, but I'm unable to, go into that level of depth in this class, because we are doing an overview. So it is said, the sun moves in Uttarayan from Capricorn to Gemini, where it moves a bit slowly. The days become longer because it moves slowly, and the nights become shorter. When the sun goes to Dakshinayan, it starts moving from the sun signs of Cancer to Sagittarius, during which it starts moving very quickly. So the days become shorter and the nights become longer. Again, how exactly this works, you'll be able to appreciate when we see that model. But I want you to understand one thing before I go further. I want you to be able to visualize how day and night are created. Now, let me see what diagram I can use. No. Oh, yeah. Okay. I'll just use this. You don't have to look at the other details for now. I'll go into those details later. This is the Bhumandal. This is the Manasottara mountain. Even though it is tall, it is very small. The Lokalok mountain, which is much beyond, is actually very tall and high. The Manasottara is not that tall. The sun globe is said to be revolving around the Bhumandal on top of Manasottara mountain. So what that means is, as the sun is moving around, it is causing day and night. So for example, if the sun is here, it is causing day all the lands in this part. Remember, the earth disk is not flat. If it was flat and the sun is moving round on top, there is no day, no night. It's only day. Correct? It's only day, because of course the sun's rays may be inclined. It will always be day. You'll always see the sun because it is flat. But because there is an incline here and the sun is moving around, the side of the mountain, I'm not calling it mountain, it's not a mountain, but the side of the slope of the Bhumandal, which sees the sun, has the daytime. The other side has night. The sun moves around once in one day. Okay, so here this is day. When it will come, this is noon time for this part. The sun comes here. It is almost sunset. Here when it comes, it is midnight. Comes here, it is sunrise. Here it comes noon again. Okay. I hope you can imagine. This is a circular route like this. Okay, anybody did not understand this part? I hope you understood. So the sun is causing day and night like this. By the way, if you are not able to imagine, because this is the entire Bhumandal, where is the earth? The earth is somewhere here. You can see my mouse pointer. Roughly, yeah, approximately. Because innermost is Jambudweep. At the tip of Jambudweep is Bharatvarsha. At the tip of Bharatvarsha is Bharatkhanda. And then there is the saltwater ocean. Yeah, it's not shown here. I'm just asking you to imagine it. Somewhere here, the earth is located. Again, this is not to scale. So the Bhagavatam says that the sun is passing through the various rashis. When the sun goes through the Mesh and the Tula rashis, that is the point where it is transiting between Uttarayan and Dakshinayan. 6 months is Uttarayan, 6 months is Dakshinayan. The transit happens through the Mesha and the Tula Rashi, and that is the time that the day and the night is of equal duration. In Vrishab and Mithun Rashis, the days become longer and then it gradually decreases. Every month, the duration of the day decreases by half an hour, and then eventually the day and night again become equal, the Tula Rashi, Libra. So all this is mentioned. I don't want to go into the details, but I think you get the idea of Uttarayan and Dakshinayan. So based on the sun being higher or lower in its orbit, higher or lower, and the earth being stationary with respect to the Bhumandal, the inclination of the sun vis-a-vis the equator of the earth goes up and down, causing Uttarayan and Dakshinayan. Okay. School geography. That is all still true from a relative perspective. The sun has an equator, then the earth has an equator, and the sun is either upwards or downwards. The only difference is the modern geography shows the sun as stationary and the earth tilting its axis as it goes around the sun. Starts tilting like this, Uttarayan. Starts tilting like this, Dakshinayan. Correct? I don't know whether you saw my hand or not. Earth as a ball, stationary in the center. Sorry, the sun as a ball, stationary in the center. The earth rotating around it. And the earth's inclination with respect to its axis, going like this for Uttarayan, like this for Dakshinayan. And that's what causes the sun's rays have different angles vis-a-vis the earth, and either the North Pole to have 6 months sunshine and darkness in the South Pole, or the South Pole to have 6 months sunshine and the North Pole to be dark for 6 months. So while modern geography has that view, Bhagavatam explains it the other way around. Bhagavatam says, no, the relative motion is fine. We have no dispute with that with respect to the relative motion and the Uttara and Dakshina. That is exactly tallies, including the distances, the angles, all that tallies. But the Bhagavatam's view is geocentric, not heliocentric, which means the earth is fixed with vis-a-vis the Bhumandal. The earth is not getting inclined like this, like this. The earth is fixed vis-a-vis the Bhumandal. The sun rotates in its orbit. And because the sun is moving in its orbit up and down, that's why this relative motion is causing various effects, day and night, year, season, months, etc., etc., etc. So this is a point of difference which we need to. Now, as we discussed, the sun is going on top of the Manasottara mountain. Let me go back to the images. If I can show. For that, I just want to show this image very quickly before I go to that image so that I don't forget to show you this image. I just want to show you this image. I have not shared this. Okay, can you see? Huh? Of course, this image shows the cross section of the Bhumandal. It is not showing the Bhumandal as inclined. Actually, the Bhumandal is inclined. So just neglect this flatness here. It's supposed to be an incline. But this is showing another part. The point is that the sun is going around Sumeru. The moon is a little above. The sun is at a lower vantage point than the moon. There's a Lokalok mountain. And the Bhumandal is a thick disk. And at the bottom of the Bhumandal are the 28 hellish planets. This is the Andatama spit that we discussed about. Quite deep. Then there's the Ghanodak ice here. In this one. Just want to show this. This is the pole star at the top. In case you're not able to imagine the Andatamas in the last class, I said I was trying to find a picture. I couldn't show you the picture last class. This is how the Andatamas looks like. Very, very, very dark. The sunlight doesn't come here, so it's dark anyways. This is really, really dark. Okay, so having shown this, let me come to this picture 1 second. Okay, so it is said as the sun moves around the Manasuttar mountain is around, is around, and the circular path around Pushkara Dvipa. It is said that the sun is seated on a chariot and travels on top of the Mount Manasuttara in a circular orbit. Now, this particular point is described in a fair amount of detail, and that's why I wanted to show you this particular diagram. Surya Dev is said to be seated on a chariot. This chariot has one wheel only. How many wheels? Only one. That wheel is known as Samvatsara. So is that round wheel. This wheel of Samvatsara rotates around the Mount Sumeru, with Mount Sumeru like a yoke, and it is compared to an oil grinding machine, an oil making machine. And I will show you that image later. Imagine that there is an axle. This is the wheel. There's an axle from the center of this wheel on one side and the other side connected at the base of Mount Sumeru. This axle is 15.75 million yojanas. And there is another axle which is connecting this axle just above the point where the saltwater ocean is located under it. From that point, there is another axle which connects this axle to Dhruvaloka. So both these axles are obviously subtle. This particular axle is said to be made of wind, Vayu. So this wind doesn't necessarily mean the gross wind as in the air that we have. So wind has various types. There are many subtle kinds of winds also. Just like our pranas, they are subtle winds. They are also wind, but they are subtle winds. So there are certain subtle winds. Each of these winds has a particular name, but I don't want to go into that technicality. So there is a particular kind of Vayu element which makes up the axle. So the sun's chariot is something like this. The chariot is not, the chariot wheel, which is one wheel, is not actually touching the Manasuttar mountain, even though it goes on top of the Manasuttar mountain. The Manasuttar mountain itself is said to be 10,000 yojanas in height. Probably you cannot see this image very clearly, but the height is 10,000. Further 50,000 yojanas above the Manasottar mountain is the base or the bottom part of the wheel of the chariot of the sun. 50,000 yojanas in height. So what is between the chariot wheel and the Manasottar mountain? There is a surface which is made by a special kind of wind on which this chariot floats and goes. The chariot is not actually touching the Manasottar mountain. This is what the Bhagavad says. So these are all subtle things. So, we may not be able to, relate it to how a chariot wheel is floating on a wind. So these are all subtle aspects. So we are repeating what the Bhagavatam says. Above this chariot wheel, there is an enclosure. This enclosure is 3.6 million yojanas into 0.9 million yojanas wide. And on top of this enclosure, Surya Narayana is sitting. Later, I will show you a model. If you are not able to imagine, it's okay. I'll try to show you a model. I managed to get a picture for you where you can see how it actually looks like. On this chariot with one wheel and with this enclosure on top, with Surya Dev on the top, this chariot is being pulled by 7 horses. The 7 horses are named after the 7 chandas mentioned in the Vedas, starting with Gayatri, Anushtup, Ushnik, and so on and so forth. These horses are yoked to this chariot with a yoke, with a rope, subtle rope, which is 0.9 million yojanas. The charioteer, the one who's actually driving this chariot, is a personality known as Aruna. This Aruna, the charioteer of Surya Dev, is seated on the chariot, but the unique thing about him is he is not facing in front. He is facing towards Surya Dev. Looking backwards to this Surya Dev and offering him obeisances. In front of the chariot, the Bhagavatam describes, there are 60,000 sages known as the Vali Khilyas. All the 60,000 sages, each of them is the size of a thumb. There are 60,000 of them. What are they doing? They are offering various auspicious prayers to Surya Narayana because they know the significance of Surya Dev. They know that he is the cause of life and nourishment, and he is a representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this world. He is Hiranyagarbha, he is the Martanda, he is the Vairajya, he is the Drig Ishwar. Because of him, we are able to see. Because of him, life is nourished and life exists. So they are continuously glorifying. Also surrounding the chariot on various directions are also various kinds of Gandharvas, Apsaras, Nagas, Yakshas, Rakshasas, Sages and Devatas. They are all offering various prayers. Some of them in various months, in various groups, the Bhagavatam says, perform various kinds of rituals to appease Surya Dev. Now the job of Surya Dev is actually quite a tough job. Why it is a tough job? Because for the entire period of Brahma's day, there is no leave for Surya Dev, no leave for his horses, no leave for Aruna, no sick leave, no casual leave, no annual leave, nothing. Continuously you have to go round and round and round and round. Just like the Kala Chakra is moving, Surya has maintained his gati. The gati of Surya is said to be so fast that in one muhurta, which is roughly 48 minutes, Surya Dev travels almost 3.4 million yojanas in 48 minutes. Which means roughly in a moment, Surya Dev travels around slightly over 2000 yojanas in a moment. So fast. Can you imagine what kind of horses and what kind of, even if you say breakneck speed also, it is an understatement. It's traveling at a crazy speed, lighting up the entire universe. Higher planets, Bhuva, Swaha. That's why the Gayatri mantra is glorifying the Surya. Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha. Who is making the Bhu Bhuva Swaha illuminated? Tat Savitu. That's Surya Dev. Let us offer our obeisances to him. That's such an important meditation. It has become such a central part of our Vedic, a very important part of the Vedic mantras, Surya Gayatri. Okay, so this we discussed. So this works out to be the dimensions. We had started with this. This is one axle, this is one axle, and this is the horizontal axis. So Surya is moving around. And why is this compared to an oil making machine? Now I will show you. Can you make out the equivalence? This is Surya. This is the long axle from the wheel of Surya Dev, the base of Sumeru. This is Sumeru. This is Dhruvalok. From Dhruvalok, there is another axle coming and joining this long big axle at this point, which is above the saltwater ocean. Okay? You have to imagine, huh? Round and round and round and round, unendingly. So this is the comparison which the scriptures give. Now another interesting image. A good image of the sun's chariot. Yes. Sorry, this image is not very clear, but I will try to explain it. This is an actual model. I don't know whether it is to scale, but it is a model of Surya's Rath, which is placed in Sringeri Mutt in southern part of India. So I'll try to explain to you. This is the same thing. There are three different pictures from slightly different angles. This is the wheel of the single wheel of the Rath of Surya Narayan. Okay, you can see at the bottom, one wheel. This enclosure here is the 3.9 million yojanas into 0.9 million yojanas enclosure, which forms the body of the chariot. And this is Surya Narayan sitting on top. This is slightly from the back, so you cannot see it. This is from the front. This is Surya Narayan. This is the body of the chariot. And these are the 7 horses in front. 7 horses in front. This is Aruna sitting here, is the charioteer, connected by these yokes, which are 0.9 million yojanas in length. 0.9, right? If I remember correctly. So once a year, they bring out this particular model. It is placed inside the mutt and they worship it publicly glorify Surya Narayan. I think on one of the special tithis, I don't know whether it is on Sankranti or something like that, they bring out this particular Ratha and they worship. So it's a very nice image.
Thank you, Rakhi. Thank you.
So this is the glorious Surya Dev. So this is a pictorial representation. So the 7 chariots, the 7 horses, Aruna. Unfortunately, they have shown Aruna wrong here. Aruna should be facing Surya Dev. And the Surya Narayan. Sages in front. Various other yakshas, apsaras, gandharvas are on the side, all offering beautiful prayers. So as the sun, Surya Dev travels on top of the Manasuttara mountain. Sorry, the Manasuttara mountain is not shown here. Let me go back to this image. If you remember, we discussed that on the 4 corners of the Manasuttara mountain, on the top of the Manasuttara mountain, are the abodes of 4 devatas. So the abodes are on the east side is the city of Indra, which is known as Devadhani. On the southern side is the city of Yamaraj, known as Samyamani. On the west side is the city of Varuna, known as Nimalochani. And on the northern side is the city of Soma, known as Vibhavari. So this is broadly the description. Net, as we are concluding the chapter, sorry, I'll just wrap up in a minute. Net, as the sun moves around, he gives heat and light to the areas of the Bhumandal which are exposed. And as he moves up and down, the up and down movement, we don't have time to discuss that. It's not discussed here. But just to briefly explain to you, there is another subtle thread made of wind which ties Dhruvaloka directly to Surya. And Dhruva Loka pulls that string, and as it pulls, it brings the sun upwards and closer to Dhruva Loka as it is moving round and round. And that is why it is said the sun's orbit starts coming smaller and smaller. And it comes closer like this. Then it results in Uttarayan. Again, just let go. Again, the orbit increases in size. Comes back down again to the original place. Dakshinayana comes into picture. So the sun also moves like this. So the sun's motion is, like I said, smaller orbit, then bigger orbit. Again becomes smaller, again becomes bigger. 6 months up, 6 months down, 6 months up, 6 months down. Continuously every day going round. On his chariot, the wheel of which is known as Samvatsara. Just 12 spokes, each representing 1 month. Samvatsara also refers to a year. Okay, so yes. Oh, okay. I'll just conclude with this. Just give me 1 minute. All other things I have shown. It's one very interesting piece of information which I came across. We'll be discussing about the moon also later. But just so that I don't forget, I wanted to mention this. This is a very special point which is mentioned, that in our Vedic scriptures, the number 108 is considered very auspicious. And many people ask, why is 108 very special? Of course, we say there are 108 Upanishads, we say there are 108 Gopis, our Japa beats also there are 108. All these things are true, but also within the construction of the universe, the number 108 is also significant. How? Now I'm going to explain this very briefly because we have already overshot time. I can post these pictures later, so you can read it at your leisure. net, it is said that the distance between the sun and the earth is exactly 108 times the diameter of the sun. The distance, sorry, the diameter of the, sorry, there are three things here. Okay, I think I need to go slow. The sun's diameter is 108 times the diameter of the earth. Point number one. And the distance between the sun and the earth is 108 times the diameter of the sun. So 108 is also a very significant number here. Same thing vis-a-vis the calculations between the earth and the moon. Only thing is that the distance between the moon and the earth is 108 times the diameter of the moon, and the moon's diameter is 108 divided by 4. Not 108 times, but the number 108 still comes approximately. So you can look at these calculations later, but this is also another interesting piece of information. So where the sun and the moon are so significant vis-a-vis the earth, we can see that the number 108 also figures that. So all these numbers are not important simply because they are sentimental. There's a particular natural rhythm to the universe where these numbers also play a significant role. Okay, so I think we've covered most of the things. There may be some small things which, small details I may have left out, but that's okay. You can read the chapter, but I think 90-95% we have already covered. So I'm going to stop sharing. Go to gallery mode. Okay. Thank you very much. I'm opening up the floor. I don't know how boring this discussion was, but nonetheless, we had to do what we had to do. So if you have any questions or comments, then we'll try to answer. Okay, none. Okay, so thank you very much. Yeah, sorry, who's there?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Just
Yeah,
a quick
Santana
one.
bro.
Yes. Where Indra is there in the heaven? Heaven is all the planets are there. In which planet Indra is there?
His abode is said to be this Devadhani on the Manasuttara mountain.
Oh, in the Manasutra.
His office is on top of
Mount Sumeru.
Mount Sumeru, but his residence is said to be here. So I'm assuming perhaps the Amravati city is somewhere in Devadhani, possibly. I haven't got more specific additional information, but yeah, looks like that.
And I have another point. The sun god is sitting on an enclosure. Is it what is there inside the enclosure, Prabhuji? Is there any detail? Because what is
maybe it's a sitting place of that size. There's no description, at least here in the Bhagavad. I'm not aware what exactly is inside, but yeah, that's an interesting question. Maybe someday we'll find out. Maybe it's mentioned in other scriptures of what is inside. But here the Bhagavatam doesn't mention anything. So I don't want to speculate. Yeah.
And somewhere in our places we used to say Aruna has no legs, and the horses are held by the ropes. Instead of rope, they used to say snakes. is it? Is there a?
There's no
anywhere
mention of snake. The mention of for the rope, it is the mention is it's a particular kind of wind. So I'll tell you the exact mention here. It was said to be made of a particular wind. There's no mention of snakes here. So I don't know if somewhere else in some other scripture it is represented slightly differently. I can't find it right now. Yeah, but I need to check. But yeah, I'm not sure about the snake. At least it's not mentioned here in this chapter. Aruna not having legs, I'm not aware. It's not mentioned here, so I can't comment. I do not know whether he doesn't have leg. But that's interesting. Yeah.
And when we see the distance between the Bhumandal to moon is 1 lakh yojana, and the sun is also 0.1 million yojana, means it is also 1 lakh yojana only. It is not. Is it not same?
Yeah. So Bhumandal, the top of the Bhumandal is the base at which the Mount Sumeru touches Bhumandal, right? So if you see this diagram again, so the top of the Bhumandal and the axle of the sun is almost at the same height. So that's why this 0.1 million yojanas.
I was saying the difference is also 0.1.
Yes.
Sun to.
Yes. So if I go on this diagram, let me try to show you. Yeah. So this distance is roughly, this is 0.1 million yojanas. If you add this 50 plus 40 plus 10, this is 0.1. And higher than this line, up 0.1 is the orbit of the moon. You understand? But if you look from here, it will still be 0.1 from here also, from Bhumandal. You understand? Because Bhumandal is further another 0.1 million lower.
Yeah.
You understand? So this
Got
is,
it, got it.
yeah. So this distance is 0.1 million yojanas. Above is 0.1 million. So that comes around here. The moon is rotating like this. So if you look at this image, where is this? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
So here, yeah. So this is 0.1 million from this base. And this actually goes down like this. So the distance like this is 0.1 million.
Fine.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Tarun, Prabhu, and if you have a question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I have a question on Gita Adhyay 9 and Shlok 30. Actually, I cannot pronounce the shlok, but I'm reading the meaning. यदि कोई जगन्य से जगन्य कर्म करता है, किंतु यदि वह भक्ति में रत रहता है तो उसे साधु मानना चाहिए, क्योंकि वह अपने संकल्प में अडिग है. Prabhuji, this looks contradictory. Means he is doing the very heinous crime. At the same time, he is sadhu.
You should read the purport. Have you read the purport? Prabhupada already explains all this in the purport. So while I'll answer Sridhar Prabhu's question, I'll come back to you. Meanwhile, you read the purport. The answer is in the purport, and then you tell me what you understood after reading the purport. Okay, and I will comment on it after that. Yeah, Sridhar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Have one
Hare
question.
Krishna.
This open space, that is Antariksha, can be considered as Bhuvar Loka. That is Bhuvar.
Yes, Antariksha is exactly Bhuvar Loka. Correct. It's the same. It's not different.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
So Antariksha is outer space all the way up to Dhruva. So we see the pole star in the sky, right? Up to that pole star is Swarga. And beyond that is the higher planets.
And so, one more question. Three lok we call, right? Mullok. So these three only, right? Bhuva, Swaha.
Bhuva, Swaha. Correct. So that's why we said no, that space from the disk of the Bhumandal upwards all the way up to
Moon.
Dhruvaloka is Bhu, Bhuvar, Swaha. 3 regions. The Bhu is the flat terraced area. The Bhuvar is the space, the middle, and the Swar is moon onwards all the way up to Dhruv. Like that.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Haribol. Okay, I go. Whenever Tarun is ready.
Yes, Prabhu, means this is a long purport, so I'm just still going through. I'm sorry for that.
So no problem. So you go through it later. So I'll briefly answer. So what Prabhupada is actually explaining is, or what Krishna is trying to say it. Apichet suduracharo bhajate mam ananyabhak sadhureva samantavya samyak vyavasito saha. That is the verse. I mean, that's the Sanskrit verse. Apichet suduracharo bhajate mam ananyabhak sadhureva samantavya samyak vyavasito saha. What happens is, what point Krishna is saying is, as a person is conditioned. So see, we are all coming from a background where we may have some sinful background. But once we become established in steady practice of devotional service, even though we are trying to improve, we may not have been able to give up all our bad habits completely. Still, if a person is properly fixed in the execution of devotional service with determination and with strong faith, he should be considered as a sadhu. Which means, even though he has faults, we are not supporting the faults. Even though he has faults, very soon the faults will go away because he is properly situated in bhakti. Samyak vyavasito hi sa. Samyak vyavasito means properly situated. That is why whatever the next shloka is Shipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat shantam nigacchati. I don't know whether it's the next verse here, but there's
it is the same.
Correct? Shipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat shantam nigacchati partha pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. Correct? That's the next verse,
Yes,
right?
that's correct. 31. Yeah.
So next verse immediately Krishna says why he should be considered sadhu. Shipram bhavati dhar. Very soon he'll be purified. Why very soon he'll be purified? Which means whatever faults you see in him, very soon they will go away. Why they'll go away? Because he's fixed in the process of devotional service. That is why, even though there may be faults now, should overlook the faults. We are not supporting that his mistakes are good. We are saying, because he's situated in bhakti, he is already situated on the corrective path. Very soon he'll come out from all his faults. Chitram bhavati dharmatma. And eventually, very soon he will attain the supreme destination. So another way to understand this is, if a person is dirty, full of dirt on his body, we may point out to him and say, oh, he's dirty. But if the same person is standing under a shower and he started taking his bath, just started the shower, started taking his bath, does he immediately become spick and span?
No.
All right. He has to put shower sometimes, or slowly the dirt will start going. And slowly he'll become clean. But if somebody is taking a bath and he's dirty, do you point fingers to him and say, oh, he's dirty? No, you don't point fingers to him because he's already under the shower. What is the point of pointing fingers to him? You understand the logic?
Got it, yeah.
You understood the logic.
This is in process of cleaning. Okay.
He's already in the process of cleaning. Why you are, and he already knows he's dirty, he's already under the shower, and very soon in 2 minutes he'll be fully clean. Why are you bothered? You are not in the shower, you bother about yourself. You meaning I'm not talking about you.
I understand.
So that's why for a devotee who's already in the shower is the chanting Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Correct? That is why even though devotees may have faults, we are not supporting the faults. We are not saying it is okay to have faults. He said he should still be continuously endeavoring to overcome the faults. But just because he is still showing faults, we cannot say he's not a sadhu because he's not 100% purified. Because Krishna says, I consider him a sadhu. Krishna considers him a sadhu, who are we to have a different opinion? You understand? And the central reason why Krishna considers him a sadhu is samyag vyavasito. He's properly situated. Situated in what? In devotional service. That is the important point. Okay.
Yes, Prabhu.
Hope you are clear now.
Yes.
So we are not defending his mistakes. The point is, even if one comes from the most sinful background, once he takes to steady devotional service in a fixed manner. For example, Narad Muni, he was preaching to, when he preached to Valmiki, who was a dacoit at one time, correct? Extremely sinful background, fully dirty. He preached to him and he asked him to chant the name of Ram. Actually, he told him Mara. And it became Ram. So that means he started sitting under the shower. With faith, he was executing. And eventually he became Valmiki. So there was a time where his sinful life, he stopped, but he had not fully got purified. But he was under the shower of purifying himself with Ram Nam. So Krishna says, even during that stage, I still consider him sadhu because he's taken shelter of the process of devotional service with faith. Eventually, he will become fully purified, where all these faults will go away. Okay? So by that definition, all of us here, as long as we are sincerely and steadily practicing the process of devotional service, from Krishna's perspective, he sees us as sadhu. Of course, at different degrees of sadhu. Not all sadhus are at the same level. So the more one is fixed devotional service, they are the higher sadhu. At least if somebody is doing regular sadhana, has faith in pure devotional service, taken shelter of the association of devotees, chanting the holy name, Krishna considers him a sadhu. So such persons, we don't criticize them for their faults. We encourage them to continue to take shelter of the process of devotional service. That is why for a devotee, there is no need to do other methods of purification. Simply by continuing the process of devotional service, one becomes free from all past sins and all faults. There is no other separate process of atonement needed as per the Bhagavad. Okay.
Yeah, Prabhu. Thank you.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Ankan is asking, is Dhruva Loka same star we see in the sky? Yes, it's the same, but obviously we cannot see Shvetadvip there because our gross eyes can only see the gross aspect of Dhruva Loka. The subtle aspect is not visible to us. But yes, it's the same. Okay, so if there's nothing else, then we conclude. So I hope it was not boring. I don't know. Sometimes I feel that I may be boring all of you. If you think that this level of technical details are too boring, please let me know. Then I'll go through the chapters much more faster, because the next few chapters, at least the next couple of chapters, are a bit more technical. What is your feedback? Please let me know. I can do it very fast also. So no feedback means nobody understood anything.
Prabhuji, I prefer technical. Yeah.
No, it's okay, Prabhuji. The pace is okay.
Pace is fine with me.
Okay. Anyway, I think next two chapters I'll go a little faster anyway, because it goes into the orbits of the planets and the stars a lot more, Shumar and all that. I think it's too technical. And the other thing is, without showing you videos, it will become very difficult to imagine. So what I will do is, I will go through the next couple of chapters fast. I'll highlight the key aspects. And I think by now you already got a decent idea of how the whole system is working. And I think that is adequate. Just highlight a few key points, and then I'll share videos which you can, those who are interested in going into more detail can go into at your own leisure and go into a little bit more depth. Okay, so thank you very much, and I'll see you on Tuesday. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai Shri Prabhupada, Jai Samaveta Gaura Bhakta ki, Purushottama Masa ki Jai.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna,
Prabhu.
Prabhu. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Prabhuji.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna, Prabhu.
Surya
Thank
Narayana
you.
ki
Hare Krishna.
Bye.
Prabhu, Hare
Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hey.